Hey guys, and welcome to Tech Town, our 4th episode.
I believe it's actually our 5th.
Our 5th episode!
I mean, we're getting episodes out right and left.
We're on our way. We're 1/5 to a quarter of 100.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so I'm Mr. Ellsberg.
I am the town wizard.
The town wizard, that's right. You heard it here. Second time around. We're glad that you're back. We're back.
Oh yeah, we've
back. Got all sorts of awesome things to bring up to you today. Last week, we brought up a really cool subject.
Oh, yeah. Well, so here's the thing. If you have not yet gone to Wikipedia and checked out all the articles on there, really every article, then you're missing out. Go read all of Wikipedia.
That's right. Wikipedia. It's obviously you've seen it as a tool, but we went in depth into a few different things that you can do on Wikipedia and a few different Wikipedia tools that you might not have heard of before. So we want you to get on there, try some things out, and make it your own. Make it the best tool it can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and then this week we're going to be talking about the command line.
Command line?
Yeah. Right, what is a command line? So this, I'm going to warn you guys that this sounds like it's a really, geeky topic, right. And it will even look like it is, and it kind of is in a way,
right.
But it's more and more actually useful to everyday people,
right.
And it's so important to the history of computers that if you don't know about the command line, you're kind of missing out on this whole really interesting history of how computers came to be and how people usually used them back in the day, and even how people still use them today. I mean, it seems like the command line thing looks like it's old and nobody uses that anymore. Oh, right. But people use that more than ever, than ever.
Well, I'm a history teacher, so I'm always into learning about the history of things.
Exactly. Well,
so let's jump into this command line.
Let's get right into it. All right, So the command line. Let me just at least show you guys what it might look like.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
just what is a little lost command line? Command line.
Okay.
Command line.
Here's what the command line looks like. Command line looks like that.
Huh.
That's that.
Okay. All right. So this is what I've seen sometimes when a computer will turn on.
Yep. Sometimes, right. Sometimes it's in a nice little window right here, and then you can see Windows is all around here.
Right.
Sometimes it's the full screen, and that's all you get.
Right. Okay.
So right now it's within Windows, I have this command line right here.
All right.
And you can do things. So you can go, let's say, change directory. So that's the command that's going to say change which directory we're in.
Okay.
So this might all look a little weird, and why are we changing directories and all that? But the basic idea is this is what the command line looks like. So don't get scared of it. Just think, okay, I can type stuff.
Right.
So what do I want to type? What do I want to do? And that's what we're going to learn about today, is what all the things that you can do with this weird little interface is.
Sweet.
Okay, so first, where did the command line maybe come from, and why is it there? Well, really, it's about hacking in movies and TV.
Okay.
So in movies and TV, you know when they show the sweet hacking scenes?
Yeah, I know.
And, the bad guys hacking everything and hack.
Mm-hmm.
You see funny graphics on the screen. Sometimes there's real graphics and progress bars and things. But the cooler ones don't even put that. They just put this command line, just this text,
right,
and maybe a bunch of weird characters.
And it's moving and stuff all the time.
Exactly.
I think of the Matrix, which is zeros and ones, you know. But that's maybe the command line's command line.
Sure, yeah, it's one level deeper. So you definitely have to watch for it in movies because they like to put it there. But that's actually not the real use for the command line. So the command line really came out of the history of operating systems.
Okay.
So when you first had a computer, you didn't even have a keyboard and a screen. You just had these switches that you would flip, more or less.
Switches.
So you would just flip switches, and it would make the computer sort of do things. And that wasn't really a nice way to go. So they invented the keyboard. And the keyboard was kind of cool because you could type commands.
Right.
And the commands at first were really simple. It was just basically do math, add these two numbers,
right,
or do a few little simple things.
Right.
But that way of doing things with that keyboard and a little line right there they could type stuff, that turned out to be a pretty good way. So they started to call that the command line, or the terminal, or the command line interface. There's different words for it, but it's basically this text way of entering commands into a computer.
Right. So it's kind of like a control room or something like that.
Yeah, right. But by text. No mouse, no clicking. It's really just about that text.
Wow.
So one of the earliest operating systems that used this was called Unix.
Mm-hmm.
And Unix is still used today in a lot of different ways. But before, it was just this operating system with just text, just like that. So it wasn't all these fancy windows and you couldn't click on things. It was just that command line. But it was enough that you could actually do things with your computer. So you could maybe write a file. You know, you could like save a file. That was exciting back in the day. Like save
it's still pretty exciting.
Well, it's still pretty exciting.
Like when you got a file, then you get to save it.
Oh, it's there.
Oh yeah, forever.
Well, so yeah, so Unix was used by a ton of things, and then MS-DOS came along. So good old Bill G, came along and made MS-DOS, which was the first version of his Microsoft operating system, and it was the same sort of deal, just text. But you could do really, quite complex things with it. So they started writing really big programs and applications just basically based on this text. So they had spreadsheets and they had word processing, all this stuff without all the fancy graphics. It was just saying these commands from the text.
Right, very cool. And by Billy G, we're talking about Bill Gates.
Oh, of course, yeah. I call him Billy G. But...
Or William Gates.
That's his official form.
We like to call him here. We're chummy with Bill. Yeah. We all live in the Pacific Northwest, so we're like on the same team.
Pretty much. We're pretty much in his backyard because it's so big.
Right. We're sorry about that, Bill. We'll get out immediately after Tech Time.
Right. We just like doing it from your lawn. Okay. So, and then MS-DOS turned into Windows. So Windows was Microsoft's way of saying, we don't just have to do this command line thing. They called it Windows because they wanted these windows that people could click on stuff. But actually underneath, it was still running a lot of those MS-DOS commands. So maybe when you open a window to look at your computer's hard drive, maybe you have your picture stored there or your documents stored there. That's actually doing what the command line was doing underneath. It's just in a nice new way that you can click on stuff.
Okay, very cool.
So
it's getting better. It's changing.
Getting better.
It's getting more.
It's getting more user friendly in the window way. But that command line, you'll see, that's not going away. No. It's not just converting to the clickable kind. It's still there. So in what we have today with Windows and what we have today with Mac, and then Linux, another operating system that we've talked about before, all of those heavily use the command line. Right. And sometimes you can get in there and use it yourself for really cool things. So it's not gone.
Right. So what if you wanted to get into a command line? Like where would you even start? Like which buttons do you press? Exactly right. I turn on my computer. Where's the command line? So it kind of depends. First, you want to see what operating system are you using. So what thing are you using? Because there's different ways to get at the command line. So, for example, if you're using Windows, the command line is called command prompt. Okay. And if you're using a Mac, it's called a terminal. And in Linux, it's sometimes mostly called a terminal. So there's these names for it. So you can Google, and I have some links in the show descriptions of where to get these sorts of things and how to get them. But in general, in any search function you have in your operating system, so maybe it's in Windows, you have the little search box, or in Apple, in Mac, you have the search box. Just type in either CMD, that's a good one, or terminal, and it'll pop it up. Wow. If that's a little too crazy, or you can't find that yet, there's even easier ways to do it. So you can even do it in a web browser. Ooh. So what I want to show you guys is here. I mean, we're going to use this new showcase feature. Okay, so we've got this showcase feature. We're going to try it out on TechTown. I don't know what is going to happen, so we're going to try to share something with you. So we're going to maybe look on the screen, see if we can figure out how it's working. All right, so let's try it. You got it? Is it there? I believe so. So somewhere around here, around the screen, maybe it should be showing you the link that I want to show you guys about. So normally I would do my screen share right now, and I'll probably still do that and share my screen. But this is a way that Google Hangouts has supposedly that I can share links with everybody so you can directly click on them. Okay. So all these links will be in the show notes in the description below the YouTube video. But this is a way where as I'm talking about it, I can be showing you this item. Sweet. So right now, theoretically, I'm showing you the PC emulator in JavaScript. Like that. And so what this is, and then I'll also do a screen share maybe so you guys can see what it looks like. But what this is a command line tool in your browser. So it basically will fake like it's its own computer, and you have access to this command line. So you can look. It looks like it's the Matrix or hacking or whatever. Okay, this is what the command line looks like. This actually isn't my computer. This is someone else's sort of virtual computer that they're letting me play around with. Huh. So it's nice because you can just start using it. So it takes a second to boot up, but once you boot up, you can start doing some of these typical commands. So this is sort of a Linux-based one, so you have to do certain ones. But for example, okay, so now this flashing cursor, that basically means it's ready. So now what do we want to do? Well, you can do a couple things. So if you want, one of the commands you can do is ls. That says list all the files that are in this directory. Okay. So it's basically like if you were to be browsing through your hard drive, but this is the commands you have to type into it. Okay. So let's say I want to make a text file. In these days you would do Word documents. Okay. But now in this command line thing, what they have is they have a program called VI.
And VI is the most simple version of like Microsoft Word you could imagine. It's like Notepad, but even less than that.
Wow.
So what you get right here is
no fancy fonts.
No fancy fonts. It's not one font and one font only. And so what you get here is a blank screen where you can start typing things. So what I'm going to do is type, hello, this is my text file. So a couple things we just did here. Number one, again, this is not my computer, but this could be done on your computer. So this is just a cool example through the web because you can just do that. Second thing we just did, we started up a virtual little computer with the command line. We opened a program with the command line, and that program is a text editor. So now we're going to save the file. And what I'm doing is I'm not clicking on anything. The way that you can start navigating through these programs, it has to be the keyboard.
Wow.
So
keyboard, huh?
What's weird is like you could do some keyboard shortcuts. What this program VI does as some shortcuts is it does some weird stuff. It uses like the colon. So if you press like escape to get out of text mode, and then you use the colon, and then do WQ, that's right quit. That means save and quit.
Wow.
So, okay, so now we're getting deep, right?
Yeah, we're going for it.
Yeah, so what this stuff is it's the way that you used to have to write all these, write files, and it was just typing these weirdo commands. Right. Some of that got better. So now there's better editors. It doesn't just look like that. You don't have to just do these colon cues. But the point is, everything you can do nowadays, you could do by just typing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So this one's kind of cool because it's in the browser like that because you can just try it out.
Right.
Another one is there's a Chrome extension. So let me show you guys this. So this Chrome extension, we were talking about extensions before, right?
Sweet.
This is one of these things that goes up in the upper right, and it helps you with your web browser or whatever it is. This one is more or less a mini little command line within Chrome.
Wow.
So this first says, okay, we need to connect to a different computer.
Right.
We can't connect to the computer that you're on this way. This is actually kind of weird. This is as if you had another computer somewhere else that you wanted to connect to.
Ooh, we're going deep.
Oh, yeah. So this would basically connect to another computer, and you can remotely run commands, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
So, okay, let's take a step back for a second. Because it's true. It's getting deep. So you're seeing all these command line things, all this text or whatever. Really, what's the point of this? Why are we going to do this? Why is this useful for you?
Right.
So, and maybe I'll stop showing the item and see if that works. Okay, cool. Now it's back to us. So, all right. So the command line. A couple things. What I just mentioned was remote access.
Right.
So remote access is a really cool concept. It's that you're not next to the computer that you want to be messing with, but you want to mess with it.
Right. Okay.
So maybe you need to quickly touch up your text file or your files, or you need to save something, or you need to work on something, or if you're a programmer, maybe you need to fix your website or something like that. Right now, you can have ways of remotely accessing your computer with the windows, and you can click on it, and that's pretty cool too. Yeah. There's also a text version of that, where just by using text, you can get into your computer and modify your files and save things.
Wow.
So that's really nice. If you know what you're doing, you don't even need all these fancy windows or anything. You can just remotely get into your computer and do those text commands.
Holy smokes.
Okay.
You can hack your hack. You can hack into your stuff.
Hacking your own computer. That's basically hacking into your own computer. Right. It's just not called hacking. It's allowed.
Yeah, remote access.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so programming. I'm mentioning that this is a good kind of precursor to programming. So it does seem a little confusing, a little geeky.
Right.
And that's because it's a great first step to programming, which is confusing and geeky.
Yep.
So when you're programming, you're going to use the command line. So if you have any thought that you might want to get into a little bit of coding, a little programming, or computer science, or any of that, this is a good way to go because you're going to be using it for a lot of stuff.
Right. So if you basically get into any type of programming at all, it's going to look exactly like this. The screen, everything, almost to a T. Most of the languages, right, have something that's very similar.
Yeah, and so companies will build things on top of that to make it a little bit easier and make the windows look a little nicer. Right. So it's not always like that. You'll find, and Microsoft is kind of ahead of the pack at trying to make nice looking tools for you that aren't just text.
Right.
But there are a lot of people out there that only use that text because it's just the hardcore way. And I'll tell you a few more reasons later of why that can actually work.
And if you've already used it, I mean, that's what you're used to using.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah.
Some people just don't want to deal with it.
Exactly right. So if you're going to jump into the world of programming, it's just something that you're going to want to get used to because there's a lot of cool kind of quick, efficient ways you can do things. All right. So then, and actually I found a great web page. So it is command line versus GUI and arguments why one or the other. So I'm going to try and share this here. I'm going to show that item, so check it out. But what this website is it's a list of command line versus GUI arguments and why you would use one or the other.
Okay.
So he has this topic. So for example, ease. He says in the command line interface, not so good. The ease of use, right? It's kind of this weird text stuff. You kind of have to learn how to use it, navigate it. GUI, okay, well, it's a little bit easier, right? You can at least see the typical buttons and things you can click on. So maybe it has a little help for you. Well, how about, let's see, we'll scroll down a little bit and it has a few other things. Let's see, we got speed. Speed command line can be way faster. Okay. You can do things, just at the minimal amount of typing necessary. You don't have to move your hand around to move the mouse. Right. So it turns out you can actually be way faster just using that command line than using those windows. So this is another good one to check out and see if you're more into speed and maybe sort of just the amount of programmer resources there are out there, use the command line. But if you're just into, having a good time and not worrying about too much stuff, maybe you want to use the GUI.
Right. So if you want to get some major work done, it looks like you got to use the command line.
Command line, that's how you get the work done.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're in pretty deep, but we're going to show you different looks of these command lines. So we got, like I said, you get the command line. That means you start typing stuff, right? Well, let me show you what my program to use that command line looks like.
Okay.
So here you can see my command line. This is the one I've got going.
Right.
And actually, if you look up here, it's not the one that Windows has built in by default.
Okay.
So this is a newer one. And the reason I got this one, you can download this over the internet, and it's sort of the same idea, but it has a few nicer things. So for one thing, it has these tabs. So I can say new console.
Oh, that's nice.
And it has a tab, and I can go to this new tab and do different stuff. So this is tab number 1, tab number 2. So it's kind of like within browsers, you know how they now have these tabs and we use them all the time? Same idea. You can do something in one tab and not affect the other tab.
Wow.
This also has different fonts. It can make things a little colorful. And so it can basically do a few more things. So once you get into the command line and you start feeling like you need it to do more, well, go ahead and download a new one.
We are deep.
Oh, we're
deep right now.
Oh, we're real deep.
Oh, man.
What I'd say is soak all this in. Go play around with the command line, get confused, watch this thing again afterwards, and then come at me with any questions you got.
All right. We are, I've got lots of questions that I don't even know how to ask.
Excellent. And that's good. One thing that's good about these tech challenges, we'll go a little over the deep end just so you guys know what you're up against.
Okay.
All right. So now a couple more tangible things that you can kind of feel about this command line craziness.
Yep.
So we have this website's list of 21 21 tricks of the command line.
Okay.
And these are kind of cool. These will make it a little more sense, and it's also some fun ones. So Control-C is a cool keyboard shortcut to say stop. Okay. So let's say you're in the middle of something. Normally in the Windows, you click a cancel button or stop or something. You have to use the Control-C keyboard shortcut.
Okay. These are the quick hints.
Yeah, quick hints. Okay. There's some other ones. Those are a little crazier. Some power users, hack some text or whatever, get some help. But I think there's one cool one that I like, which is change the size of the text. Sometimes that's really small, and you want to be able to see it really big. Like on my screen, it was pretty small. Yeah. So you can actually change the size of the text.
You got to blow it up.
Exactly. So there's some good hints there. A few more tricks. I think this one has some good ones too. This is another website. It says 20 of the best tricks for getting around the command line. And these are Windows-specific ones, but there's similar ones for these other ones.
Okay.
So copy and pasting it's talking about. It's talking about, okay, maybe you're in Windows and you're browsing around your documents and you want to start a command line right in there so that you can start working with your files from the command line. There's a way to do that. Or vice versa. Let's say you're way deep in the command line and you're all lost and you want to be able to see in Windows what's going on. There's a way to go back out, jump back out from it.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So these are all nice little tips and tricks. Let's say there's a program that's running real slow. From the command line, you can type the secret command to just kill it, shut it off. So that's another way to stop programs.
How about that?
Yeah. All right. So, and then we got a few Town Wizard picks. So I was coming up with a few of these picks every time, which is just stuff that me as the Town Wizard thinks is extra special. One of them I just want to say again, the command line application that I had in Windows that had the new tabs and a little bit better. It's called ConEmu. ConEmu. So check that one out. I like that one.
Right. Sometimes you just got to trick a giant bird.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I chose this one. I like tricking giant birds.
Oh, geez.
A few more keyboard tricks, you know, some shortcuts, and I'm putting these tricks in the show notes. Pressing tab, you got to press tab.
Okay.
When you type in something and you press tab, it'll complete what you were trying to type.
So that is huge.
Yeah, you only have to type a couple of the letters, and it'll complete everything else, which is nice. All right, and then let me show you one final one, which is pretty awesome.
Okay.
So this is getting Star Wars, the movie, in the command line.
All right, go on.
Yeah, right. So, all right,
okay.
hopefully that gets your interest. So this command right here, which is called telnet. Telnet is a way of sort of remotely accessing a computer.
Okay.
So telnet, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to telnet using the command line into another computer. But what the only thing that other computer does is show within text the movie of Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so here we go.
So let's see what this is.
So let me, in this command line, we're going to do, and you may have to install this telnet thing if you have not yet done that already. So I did that telnet command with the weird thing, and if you want to see what that is, I posted in the show notes. And now, it just immediately shows this. It's just, I'm not even doing anything. It's just saying some introduction, and then, get ready. Here we go. Presented by 20th Century Text.
Oh my god!
Long time ago.
No way.
Star Wars. So, believe it or not, that's us doing the music. That's not the command line.
No, it actually sounded like a full symphony.
I know, but that's just, we're really good at that. So,
no, it's not actually the New York Philharmonic.
So, and that's a good reminder, is that the command line isn't really about sound either.
Right.
You know, you don't get sound with it. It can do some beeps and boops. That's about it. So, yeah, so go ahead and watch the whole Star Wars movie using just the command line.
Smokes, no way.
Somebody took the time to make this.
Okay.
I don't know why. So, remember,
we know why.
Control C.
Oh, Tatooine 4.
Oh, look, start 2.
Okay, all right. Okay. Oh, geez.
So
okay,
that's
here we go.
So, okay, so that's a crazy tip. So the command line can do everything. It can do anything from like editing text files to show you the freaking Star Wars movie.
That's right. And we want you next week, we want you to get in there, play with the command line. Like go down to some of these different links, get on your computer, play with the command line. See what happens.
Exactly. And what I want you to tell me is, why do you think the command line's useful? You know, at first it's so weird. It's like, what is the point of this thing?
It's very abstract.
So you're going to have to do a little bit of playing around to see why you might want to use it. Because maybe there's something in your life that, you know, a good example is if you start up your computer and you have to open like 20 different things every single time, you know, maybe you open your email, maybe you open a program that you use, all these 10 things, well, you can use the command line to actually make that all happen at once every time you start up your computer.
Well,
so that's a good
all right, you just answered a question that I had. There you go. That's what I want to do. Yeah, because right when I open my computer, I have to have all these tabs that open.
Exactly.
My school, email, all these different stuff.
That's
very
good
cool.
one to use.
Awesome. So get out there, do it, command line. Up next, the music
side of the week. Music. Bow, boom, boom, bow. All right, so this week's music side of the week is actually a collection of sites that teaches you how to read music.
Awesome.
So maybe you've taken music lessons before. Maybe you haven't taken music lessons before. Maybe you took them and you were like, this sheet music stuff is, I'm not sure about that.
Right.
Well, I'm here to tell you that sheet music is awesome. Sheet music is worth it.
Totally.
And it's kind of like this weird, crazy language that's like math and puzzles and art all together.
I 100% agree. You've got to learn how to do this. You got to know your A's, your B's, your C's, your minors, your tenors. I mean, you gotta get all up and down.
You sure do. Yeah. You sure do. So yeah, this is a list of a bunch of websites. Some of them are, you know, teaching you how. It's this full-on, basically, class how to learn how to read music. So if you've ever been interested, check these out. Learn how to read music. It's not that hard.
That's right. Get in there and learn. Just like programming, you got to learn one of these languages, right?
Exactly.
So you can make that music.
Exactly.
All right. Up next is Mr. Ellsberg.
Mr. Ellsberg.
Website of the week. Okay.
Website of the week.
Website of the week. This week we've got one for you. So I've actually have an app, and I've got in the show notes, and you can see it there. And it is our Google Drive app. And so I've got it for my cell phone here. One of the great things about having the Drive app for your cell phone is that you can, say, take pictures of things or like send somebody your notes that you've been taking really quick just from your phone.
Yeah, right.
Like if someone needs it and you're not near a computer, boom, you can get it right to them immediately.
Yeah.
Or let's say you're out in the field and you're taking down information, you can quickly access your Excel sheet and then, you know, put that information in there.
Yeah.
And say like, Mr. Ellsberg 1, Town Wizard 0. See, I need to put that in if we're out and about in a park or something like that. I got 4G, you know, and I come in and I shoot. I got to be able to put it right in the phone.
Okay, yes. I disagree completely, but I understand what you're saying. What I believe Mr. Ellsberg is saying here is that if you need to be keeping track of wins and losses between maybe you're playing some games with friends, the sheets are a great way to do it, the Google Sheets, right? It's just that, you know, it's a big spreadsheet on your computer. Well, now you can do it on your phone. So you can actually just keep track of simple things like that. The fact that I'm the best at magic cards, I'm going to beat you every time. But you can do it from your phone. You know, spreadsheets are kind of a complicated thing, or Word documents, but they actually have the mobile version, which is nice, so that you can actually edit it from your phone. Yeah,
it's very legit, and then you can share it with other people right there from your phone. So, yeah, it's just another way that, you know, you can use Google Docs. So, yeah, get in there and check it out. It's got Docs, it's got Sheets, all those different apps are within the Google Docs app right there.
All right, great.
And then finally,
for the security tip of the week. All right. Well, this security tip of the week.
What else you got for me?
Once again, I got to mention shell shock. So I mentioned shell shock last time. It's important. It's worth mentioning again. But even better, now you have a little more context to understand what happened, because it's exactly about the command line. So we mentioned it last week, and it was like, okay, here's what happened. Some crazy vulnerability was found so that people can like hack everything and steal everything. Well, now that we talk about the command line, what we can know is that there's a way for you who's a hacker to go over the internet to anybody else's computer that has one of those command lines that's running a certain kind of command line. So this one specifically is called Bash. Bash is a shell for command lines. That's another one that we have in the notes, so don't worry about that. You can look that up later. Basically, the command line had this problem, this bug, where someone from a different computer could get in there and start running those commands.
Wow.
So instead of like clicking on the right windows or any of that stuff, they just had to remotely access the command line like we were talking about. And then they were able to do that without having to enter any username or password.
Wow.
And then they could run commands on that computer.
Get you.
So what you got to know is that this website, shellshocker.net, you can check it out. That's a great resource because it'll help you know whether your computer is vulnerable for that specific problem.
You got to check it out. You got to check it out. Your computer's running slow, something's acting wanky, crazy. Get to shellshocker.net.
Yeah,
check it out.
And for most people, it's not going to matter as much because most people aren't going to. You're not really running that command line stuff. But for some people, if you're running a website, or if you are working with a company, or if you have a bank or somebody, if they have it, this is really what's happening. Is that they have this command line with this problem. So they need to check it out, and you can run this command that actually will tell you whether your system's vulnerable.
That's it. And then to wrap it up again, command line. Get in there and play around with it and see what happens.
Exactly. You'll feel like a hacker. I mean, it seems like you're really getting in there and typing stuff.
At the very least, get in there and watch Star Wars.
Well, yeah, watch Star Wars just in text. I mean, that's a great time.
Okay, guys, we're going to be back with you again next week. This is Tech Town. I'm Mr. Ellsberg.
I am the Town Wizard.
All right, we'll see you again, same place, same time. Adios.